Hey, you guys. So I decided to go live today really quickly while we are out of town. There were some things that I was thinking about. We're at a conference, and so there's some things I was thinking about that I wanted to share with you as it related to, and I had to write the title down so I don't forget. And the title is Final Expense Agent versus Broker Sales, which approach maximizes your earnings, right? And so I wanted to talk to you about that today. Who am I? I'm Garlinda Price. I'm the broker and owner of Fusion Insurance Group. If you've been following us for any amount of time, you know that we own an insurance company, an insurance group. We're insurance brokers, but we also own a real estate firm. And so you also know that we came into insurance about 3 years ago, if you've been following us, because the Lord had shared with me that the real estate market was going to be shifting, changing, adjusting. And because of that, he said you need to get your license so you don't get caught off guard. And so if that's you, if you're a real estate agent and you don't want to get caught off guard, you need to be thinking of a way that you can counteract and get ahead of the shift, right? And so, what does that mean? Gary Keller wrote this incredible book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and I read it back in 2009. I think I read it again in 2011 when I opened my firm, and I've used it as kind of like a study guide when I needed reminders of what to do in business. And one thing that he said is you want to get ahead of a wave, right? You don't want to be behind the wave, because what's going to happen if you're behind the wave, you're going to get run over, right? Or you're going to miss the opportunity. And so if that's you, if you've been thinking about, well, should I become a final expense agent? Should I become a life insurance agent? Is insurance more profitable than real estate? Let's talk about it. So I will share with you from 15 years as a licensed real estate broker, right? Meaning I can sell anywhere in the United States. I can sell anywhere in North Carolina licensed. I can refer business across the country, across the globe, right? And as a broker, you can own your own firm. I will share with you that real estate now is harder. Why? Because interest rates have gone. Now that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you can't make money, right? We still have great success. We still have sales. It's just more challenging, right? And so if you come into real estate right now with the mindset of what you see on TV or what you see on Instagram or what you see on social media, it's not always facts. It's not always accurate. It's not always true, right? And so I encourage you, if you're thinking about getting your real estate license or your life insurance license, talk to someone who has done it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that way they're coming from a place of truth and not just coming from the fluff that you see online. Okay. But today we're talking about final expense agent broker versus broker sales agent. So when I came into the industry 3 years ago of life insurance, I came in as a broker, right? I'm still considered a broker, but I'm going to tell you why I focus on final expense, why my personal opinion that is the best approach to your income and your earnings maximizing, right? Because this title was which approach maximizes your earnings, right? So that's what we want to talk about today. So as a real estate, I may go back and say real estate because I've done it so much longer than insurance, but as a life insurance broker, right? That means that you can write for multiple carriers. That means you can get licensed in multiple states. Now you can do that as a final expense agent as well, but this is the thing. Let's just talk about that. As a licensed life insurance broker, when you're able to write for multiple carriers, it always sounds exciting. It always sounds really good. Like I'm going to be able to write for 6 different carriers, 7 different carriers, 10 different carriers. I'm going to have all these different carrier contracts because that's all we hear about: carrier, 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 right? And you have to think about the fact that, and maybe you don't know, and so that's why it sounds exciting and sexy and all these different things. But when you write for multiple carriers, you have to know multiple carriers' contracts. You have to know multiple carrier products. You have to know multiple carrier weight charts. You have to have multiple carrier medicine charts, like which are the medications that your clients, if they're taking, are kick out questions, meaning it's an automatic decline. What's the height and weight chart that if your client weighs more than this, or if your client is this tall and weighs this much, right? It's an automatic decline, or they get downgraded to a different product. And so you have to know that for 6 different carriers. So think about the fact, if one carrier has, excuse me, let's say 4 term products, right? And let's say that same carrier has 4 term, 1 whole life, 2 accidental. That's already 7 products right there, right? So for all 7+ children's policies, right? And Medicare, long-term care. So let's say that they have, just for kicks and giggles sakes, it has 7 to 8 different products. For each of the 7 to 8 different products, you're going to need to know all the facts, all the medications, the height, and the weight. That's for one carrier. So think about the fact, if you're going to be a licensed life insurance broker and you're like, hey, I want to be all in, I want to write for all these different carriers. And let's say that, like, you're like most people, like me, when I was coming in, I was trying to get every carrier contract I could. Why? Because I was thinking, well, no matter who I encounter and who I come across, I'm going to be able to write business on them. And so that's going to give me a greater opportunity, a larger opportunity, right? It sounds that way from a 30,000-foot view. So if it's 7 carriers, if it's 7 products for one carrier, and let's say you write for 6 carriers, how many products is that? 42. Do you have the bandwidth? Do you have the time to learn 42 different products, 42 different things, 42 different height weight charts, 42 different products, which, and then from those different products that the carrier allows you to write as a broker, some of those they don't pay the same, right? So then you maybe would only want to write a specific product for your client that your client doesn't qualify for because of their height and weight, because of their medications, because of their health, all these different things. And so that's kind of the things that people don't bring up when they're talking about becoming a broker. So you need to think about, I shouldn't say it that way, I don't mean it in a rude way, what you want to consider from a perspective of someone that's done it is, do you have the time, right? So if you're coming into insurance part-time, which a lot of people do, they come in part-time and then they progress to full-time, or they come in part-time, they stay part-time, or they come in part-time, find out, think that it's not for them, and then they quit. But if you have limited time, then you want to focus, right? So whenever you're going to be trying to specialize in being a life insurance broker with all these multiple carriers, you're not a specialist. You're a jack of all trades and a master of none. Been there, done that. Right? Been there, done that, and was thinking, well, I can do it. It'll work. It'll be easy, but it's not. You have a notebook or notebooks, and you're constantly having to figure out for each different client, you're having to get a different notebook. And it's a lot of, I wrote down some notes. It's broken focus, right? So when you're a broker and you're writing for multiple carriers, your focus is broken because you're not focused on one solid product, not one solid product per se, but one company with multiple products that you can focus all in 100% on that company and go all out and be the best that you can be there and maximize your income. Because remember, we're talking about final expense agent versus broker sales, which approach maximizes your earnings, right? So being a broker leads to broken focus, especially if you're a part-time agent. And let me give you an example. So I have a client that I wrote policies on. I write with Senior Life. Senior Life is the company that I just partnered with for final expense sales, and it's the company I've partnered with to grow my team with. We're growing a massive team. We're expanding across the country, and I'm doing that through Senior Life. I'm not doing that through Family First Life, which is where my broker carrier contracts sit, right? And I'm gonna tell you why, and then we'll go through. I've shared another video on that, so I will only slightly touch on that. But when I wrote the policies for one of my clients, they wanted final expense, meaning they want a burial policy and they want to be able to have burial insurance. So that person was 53 or 54. So they were able to get a really great final expense plan, but they still wanted a term policy, right? So what I recommended with Senior Life, they have this powerful term product for people that are over 50. I mean, it's for anyone, 0 to 85. We can write everybody. But you are not going to find a return of premium product for a 50-year-old and older at any carrier. I can tell you, right? I've written with probably 12 different had contracts with 12 different carriers, and at least 3 final expense companies. And this Senior Life, they have an incredible product where it's a return of premium product. So if my client, let's say, is 53 years old, it's a 20-year premium, right? 20-year return of premium product. When she's 73 years old, she's going to get back all of the premium that she paid into that product. So then she could either take that money that she gets back and invest it in something else, but she at least would have gone through that timeline at 73 years old with a term product that paid her back. if she didn't die during that time, right? But then she could take that money and invest it into another whole life product, but it just didn't get thrown out the window. So that same client, I presented that product to her from Senior Life and said, this is an incredible product. You're going to get all your money back. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but the value is what? You're going to get your money back. The value is you have some living benefits in there in addition to this product partnered with your final expense product that you're getting that covers your burial costs, right? And has built-in accidental. So you have to think value. We're going to talk about that in just one second. So my client said, well, what I would like to do is still look at a term product that's at least $100,000, right? So I said, okay, no worries. I tried to share with her the value of why you don't necessarily want to do that, because in 30 years, it's going to go away and you're not going to get your money back. And so even though it may be cheaper, it's not the same value. It's apples and oranges, right? Because yes, you can get it and it's going to be, I'm trying to think of how much cheaper it was. Well, it wasn't that it was cheaper. It was $100,000 term that she was looking at, or either a $50,000 term, which is the maximum that you can get with the Senior Life term product. But you're getting all of your money back. So instead, she's like, well, I want $100,000 where I'm not going to get any premium back. And it was about the same price, right? But it just sounds better because people think, oh, it's $100,000. So we go to price the product for the $100,000. Hers gets approved, but then she wants to get one for someone else, another family member. And what happens is term, right? So what you have to know as a broker, the second thing of why I think it's more challenging and it's not maximizing your income is because they have to qualify with their health. Now, with insurance, you don't buy insurance. I say this all the time. You qualify with your health. So the other person wanted 150,000. She wanted $150,000 product for the other client. That client, then it triggered a physical, right? So now there's not an immediate approval. It's not immediate issue. Now there's a physical, and what the physical does with some of these carriers is they're looking for underlying conditions, right? So they may not be taking any medications, they may not be sick, they may not have anything going on, but because they decide to do blood and urine work, right? All of a sudden now they're looking at the history of this person. They want to look at their blood and their urine to see if there's anything hiding, right? And so then what's going to happen is they'll either come back and they'll approve it, or they'll come back and say we'll offer them a downgraded policy which costs more, and then they may not get that policy, right? Why? Because now they're going to be a little irritated. The clients can get a little bit irritated because it's like, well, that didn't make sense. Why the insurance carrier do me that way? I don't want anything at all, right? That can happen. And so if you were specifically focused on final expense, you wouldn't have been, there would have been no blood work. There would have been no urine work. It's immediate issue. It's based on your Medical Information Bureau report, your MIB. It's based on prescription history checks. It's based on whatever they pull from your, basically your background and your medical information, right? So now if you sell a term product and you're able to sell term, and let's say they get the term product over the final expense, you get paid once, right? Because with final expense is residuals. That's why people come into the final expense industry. That's why they come into life insurance, because when you sell a final expense product, a burial product policy, a whole life policy, children's whole life, you get paid for the life of that product. Right. So that's one thing. It creates broken focus. The other thing is just what I just said a second ago is if the person has to end up taking a blood and urine test, you don't have that in final expense, right? Not with Senior Life. So there's not going to be any blood work required. There's not going to be any urine required. And then they offer Platinum Plus, Platinum Preferred, Super Preferred. They have modified, they have graded, they have all these. They have term, they have children's whole life. So they have living benefits. They have all these different products that are available to the client. So it gives you a value added proposition that you can that you can feel good about selling to your clients. Now, a lot of people will say final expense costs more. Senior Life is expensive. Lincoln Heritage is expensive. Final expense costs too much. But what people don't always tell you is that the value add that's built in is the fact that the funeral costs are set. Right. So when someone purchases a final expense product or policy from you at Senior Life, they automatically get their casket, their vault, and I can't think of the other right now, just escapes me. But they get three things that are taken care of as it relates to their funeral. That is set. That price is never going to change. Their insurance is never going to change. And when that person passes away, their family, all they have to do is call Legacy Assurance, say the family member passed away, and the planning begins right there. They contact the funeral homes on the family's behalf. They negotiate the price of the service, and then they send the funeral home money from the insurance policy and send the family the difference. They don't send the whole check like most people go down to the funeral home with the check. That's how I've seen it done. So many people do it because they don't know any better, right? But with the value added plan of the final expense policies that you get to sell, right, with final expense at Senior Life, you have value add there. With your term product here, you have return of premium. So you know that clients aren't just throwing their money away buying a product that is not going to benefit them in the future. So you're going to make residual income every time they make a payment, you get paid. Every time your renewals come around, you get to keep your renewals. You get vested, right? So that's something to think about when you're like, do I want to be a final expense agent or do I want to be a broker? I can focus on these core products, this core program, this core plan, and I can maximize my residuals. I can maximize my income. I can maximize my overrides by building a team if I choose to. And Senior Life pays the highest commission starting out 90% in the final expense industry. That's unheard of. When I was writing with Lincoln, I want to say they brought me in at 70 or 75%, and it was not negotiable for me to get a higher commission, although I had proven success, right? And so I think that's a really great benefit. So the other thing is split attention. So we talked about broken focus, but we talked about split attention. So I used to think it was so cool when I first came in that you could go on all these different trips. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to Costa Rica. Oh my, and they were always going to the same place. Oh my gosh, they're going to Mexico. I honestly have never wanted to go to Costa Rica, but I was wondering, wow, you can win all these different trips. Why is that? Because they're using your residuals to pay for those trips, right? They're using your residuals to pay for the trips. Well, I didn't know that at the time, right? I was just excited about it. But then you only get to go on the trips if you sell a certain amount. So think about that. If you're writing with 6 different carriers, every carrier has a trip. If you're writing with all 6 of them, your focus and your time, your money, and all of your clients are split across a broad base. You're not going to earn the awards. Why? Because you have 5 clients over here at Transamerica. You got 2 clients at America, 4 clients at American Amicable, 5 clients at Mutual of Omaha. Whereas if you had all 30 or 40 of your clients at Senior Life at one place in one home, housed in one area, you are maximizing your income. Because remember, we talked about final expense agent versus broker sales, which approach maximizes your earnings. Your earnings are maximized when they're all in one place because they'll compound. They'll compound quicker, they'll grow faster. The third thing is you have a smaller market when you're doing term products. Why? Now this is my opinion. I believe that term insurance and being a broker, not focused on final expense, that you have a smaller market. And the reason I say that is because how many my husband and I were just talking about this last night. Shout out to my honey bunny, my Pastor Marvin Price Jr., aka Lammy. And we were talking about how young people don't believe they're gonna die. Young people do not think they're going to die, right? And then if you're solely focused on the military or in a military area, active duty military don't qualify for insurance. And then they have their own insurance, their group, their GSLI. And even though there's some downsides to GSLI after they retire, it's very hard to convince sometimes active duty military that are just retiring and haven't yet experienced the increases with GSLI, why they should get insurance separate from their government policy, right? But with final expense, you have 10,000 baby boomers a day coming into the system. 10,000 baby boomers a day retiring and coming into, that means there's seniors every single day, 10,000 seniors a day. Give me a break. And they're the wealthiest people in our country. That is your target market. That's where you want to be. That's what you want to focus on. That's where your income is. That's where you're going to grow wealth. And you get to serve the most incredible population, seniors, people that have worked their whole lives. They've built up this nest egg and this wealth for them and their families. And now they're just trying to protect that wealth with their final expense so that their final plans are taken care of so they can leave the money to their families to do other things, right? Or maybe they're retiring and they're on a fixed income and they're like, listen, I just don't want to be a burden to anybody when they don't want to be a burden to anyone when they leave. So you have a built-in population of people that's never going anywhere that see the value and the benefit of what it is that you have to offer, and you can offer the value of funeral planning, right? And so you have a smaller market when you're a broker because you're not focused. There's niches in the riches. So if you're a jack of all trades and a master of none, you're not going to maximize your income, right? Because remember, we're talking about which approach maximizes your earnings. It is to become a final expense agent, right? And you're non-captive. With Senior Life, you can write with other companies and other carriers if you want to, but I encourage you, when you come here, focus solely on the Senior Life products. There's so much business, you're never going to run out, right? Everybody that you know does not have insurance. There's tons of leads, people that are looking for insurance. And yes, do you have to work that business? Is it easy? Nothing's easy, but it becomes easier over time as you become better, right? It doesn't become easier. We just become better, right? And then the other thing is, it's very challenging for business to stay on the books when you get these 150, 200, $300,000 policies where people have been watching these people on YouTube and everybody's a guru. Everybody's selling an IUL. Everybody's saying to buy big, buy big, buy big or go home, right? But when you have the average American right now, that has budget constraints, when that dishwasher breaks down or that car breaks down or they want to go on vacation, they're looking now at their insurance policy as an expense. That's been my experience, right? So when you look at someone purchasing a term policy, which is less expensive most of the time, versus a final expense policy, which is tied to them not being a burden to someone, it locks in their funeral costs, it locks in their policy until they're 120 years old. For the most part, you're going to have a better persistency and chance of your business staying on the books than you do if you sell term policies, right? And then you are at being a broker. Not only that, you can begin to create and establish a relationship and a reputation and a name for yourself. You can brand yourself when you're with one company, when you're with one area of focus, right? Now, people will lie and say, oh, they only have one product. It is not true. There are so many products over here. No, they have one focus, and their one focus is final expense. Their one focus is to be the number one senior life insurance company that whenever seniors think they have a need, whether it's prescription, whether it's Medicare, whether it's whole life, whether it's term life, they want to be the premium, the number one senior company that seniors think about serving that population. So that's what you need. You don't want broken focus. You got to have a specific focus. Okay. So then, when it's challenging to stay on the books, what happens? You're going to get a chargeback, right? Then you're going to be upset. Then you're going to say the business doesn't work. Well, chargebacks are a part of the business, right? I had to learn that because I would stay agitated about it, right? And so, hold on a second. I would stay agitated about it. And my husband was like, well, it sounds like it's just part of the business. It is, and it's a business expense, right? But when you write good business, there's less likely of a chance to do that. So what is good business? Good business is staying within people's budgets. It's even though someone tells you that they can confidently spend $100 to $150 a month, you have integrity and morals and say, you know what, why don't we start with $50 to $60 a month? That's where most of my clients start. And then you can always go up and you can feel good about the fact if something happens financially, you don't have to let your policy lapse, right? Or you don't have to, I have that honest, open conversation with people when I'm talking to them about insurance, right? And then lastly, you have limited residuals when you're a broker, right? Because if you're selling some term, you're selling some IUL, you're selling some whole life, you're selling some final expense, you're selling a little bit, you're dibbling and dabbling all over the place, but you're not specifically focused, you're going to have lower residuals, right? And that's why you're coming into the insurance industry, is for the residuals that they talk about. It is a real thing. I hadn't even written policies with American Amicable. I forget when it was, and Mutual of Omaha. I think American Amicable, I got a check from them maybe 2 months ago, $375, right? Residuals are, they are bad, right? So when you think about and I hadn't even been writing business with them. So when you're thinking about how can I grow renewals? How can I grow residuals? How can I grow my pay through? How can I grow my overrides? You need to get with a company that's agent centric and that has products that are focused on helping you to be the best in the business. And you need to be focused on training, right? I'll share this and then we'll end. We're talking about final expense agent versus broker sales. Which approach maximizes your earnings? At Senior Life, I can talk to my upline every single day. I can call the corporate office. I can get help when I need it. I don't have to go trying to figure out who's on first and who's on second, right? Whereas with the other company that my license is with, so that I have access to the other carriers, you can't talk to a live person. Everything is done via email, which for me, I'm big on communication. So if I'm stuck, if I have a question, I need to be able to talk to a live person. You have to handle everything with your onboarding is via email. If you have a challenge, you got to go through your upline that then has to go through their upline that then has to go through the email. It's very cumbersome. So if you want to have great success, you need to be a part of a streamlined system. You need to be a part of a company that has a system that says that their goal and oriented focus, that it's not just about the money. It's not just about the high contract. What can you build and what can you grow? Right? So I wanted to come on here and share with you on today that which approach maximizes your earnings, is it broker or is it final expense agent? And I will tell you undoubtedly, without a shadow of a doubt, it's a final expense agent. That's why we've chosen to grow our business and grow this massive team with Senior Life. We're super excited about it. But not only that, we're excited to serve a massive population of people that have given us their time. My husband loves senior citizens. I tell him people all the time, he would have married an 80 or 90-year-old if he could have. And the reason being is because he said they're so wise. They have so much to share. They've lived so much life. And so now it's our turn and our chance to give back to them by making sure that their legacy, their inheritance is protected, and we get to focus solely on them. So just wanted to share that with you on today. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If they're positive, if they're negative, I'll delete the comment. But have a great weekend. Again, it's Garlinda Price. We're going to be having a live opportunity Zoom with our team. I'm a part of Billy Pilcher's team at Senior Life. My organization is Fusion Insurance Group. My upline is Jesse Sanders. He is such an incredible gentleman. And so we're going to be having a live opportunity Zoom this Wednesday, July 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'd love for you to be a part. So if you send me the link in the chat, or if you watch this or see this and you put it in the comment section, let me know and I'll send it to you. We're going to have it every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. That's going to be our defined time, so that you or anyone that you know that says, you know what, I want to be a part of this billion-dollar industry, get your part. It could just be that you want an extra $500 a month. It could be that you want $500 a day. You can get paid every day in final expense. You can get paid the same day. So I'll give you an example and then I'll go. With Senior Life, when you sell a policy, right? When your client invests in a policy, if you get a copy of a check from them that day, whether they send it to you on a screenshot or whether you're in person and they hand you the check, if you submit that business to the home office that before I think it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon, you get paid that same day. That is gangster, right? But let's say you don't do that. You get paid within 3 to 4 days. You get paid in the same week. So within 72 hours, you have a check, right? So life insurance, my husband and I were talking about it this morning, is I think a lot of times people just don't know about the opportunity. They don't know what's available to them. You can literally be in a financial bind today. Onboarding as a final expense agent with our team at Senior Life, my onboarding took 4 hours, not even 4 hours. It took seconds for me to minutes for me to complete the application. My background check was done and I was licensed in every state that I have that I'm licensed in within 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. It was so fast, where when I became a broker, it was weeks. I'm not gonna lie, it took about 2 weeks because every carrier does a background check. Do you have a lot of times when people come into business, do you want to wait 3 to 4 weeks before you can write with the carrier that you thought you were going to be able to write with? It is a very slow process. Apples and oranges. So come on over here. Partner with us in Final Expense. We are at Senior Life. We are Senior Life all our life. We're super excited about it. And we would love to help you, talk to you, and would love to answer your questions. My phone number is 910 494-7798. I'm out of town until Monday, but shoot me a text. I will reply and I'll answer your questions. We're looking for licensed life insurance agents across the country. Doesn't matter what state you're in. We can write in 40 states. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. We can write in 40 states. You can let me know what state you're in, and I can send you a map of the states that we don't write in. Also, it doesn't matter if you don't have your license. We have access to a free course where you can get your license and partner with us. But we only give that license, that free product code after we've talked to you. We've had you talk to our upline and we find out where your goals are. We're not just out here hiring any and everybody, okay? So if that's you and you don't have your license, but you're interested in getting your license, let's talk, okay? There's a Calendly link in the description box. Click it and schedule a time for us to connect, and we'll go from there. So God bless you guys. I'm Gerlinda Price, broker and owner of Fusion Insurance Group.